Right, now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What are the 4 types? And what are the messages lying beneath the surface? We'll go through them one at a time. Overwhelm, underwhelm, perfectionist, and creative block. And we'll give you a general grasp of each type. And then later we'll spend a whole video on each type where we introduce immediate actions and get deeper into the messages. But for now, what are the 4 types? Well, let's start with the most common procrastination type, overwhelm. There are a number of ways that we become overwhelmed. Now, the job itself can be so huge that it's impossible. The mountain of work to do and the mountain of effort that you need just seems too exhausting to even think about. It may be as simple as the fact that the job is too big, but it might also be that this job is triggering self-confidence issues and you are the victim of your own negative self-talk. Stop for a moment, check that out. You need to get to the source of that inner dialogue and change it. Another overwhelm is when there are too many things to do, and collectively it's impossible. There are important messages here. Has the workplace or the home situation gotten out of control? Are new tasks coming up faster than they can be completed? Something has to slow down or be reorganised. It might be that you just say yes too often and have dug yourself into your own hole. But why do you do that? What change can you make so that you stop saying yes? Now, these are important questions, and it's your procrastination that is prodding you to do the asking. Maybe your world is so complicated that you have no headspace or heart space to get on with what you should be doing. Constant bad news stories in the media can make you feel like the future isn't worth working for. Same thing with major issues at home. Marital arguments, sick relatives, troubles with kids. The brain just wants to shut down and wait for life to settle. Procrastination can be a safety mechanism to shut you down from extra work so that you can sort out the complications in your life. Now, the second type of procrastination is equally as debilitating, but it's the opposite end of the stick. Underwhelm. That's when the task ahead is so dull, so same old, so tedious, so beneath you, that anything other than the job at hand is preferable. Mundane tasks like administrative forms or household chores can certainly be dull. But what's the message here? Underwhelm carries with it messages about a lack of satisfaction or a lack of purpose, certainly a lack of a clear goal or a vision of the bigger picture. So do you remember what the purpose is behind this work? Have you lost sight of what it means? Or is the message here that it might be time for you to take yourself to the next level in what you're doing? I mean, this can be in your work, but it can also be in your relationship or your education. Your skills are too high for the challenge. The message is to create more challenge and get the mundane tasks done. Let's look at the third type, the perfectionist. Getting everything just right in a world of deadlines and pressure can drive a perfectionist crazy, not to mention everybody else. And the perfectionist is in a catch-22 where it seems quite reasonable to want to get it as good as it can be, but when going over and over leads to procrastination and the job languishes, the fuss and bother over excessive detail, well, there's just going to be trouble. The message here is more of a question. What is it that you're trying to do? What is it you're afraid of? What happens if it's not perfect? Is there an inner critic, self-confidence? What's going on here? The perfectionist can be trying to protect themselves from criticism by others. The perfectionist doesn't want to be the one who's at fault, who's to blame. And of course the trouble is if the task isn't finished, it's the perfectionist who is to blame. And there you go. You turn this problem around and you can even make the perfectionist work to your advantage. And that's what we'll show in the next video. Now finally, the fourth type. And I find this is the one that a lot of people don't think about much, but it can be a big difficulty sometimes. Creative block. It's sometimes confused with the perfectionist, but it's really something quite different. The perfectionist will go over and over things. In creative block, the task isn't ready. something's missing, something's wrong. It's not, it's just not ready. Sometimes it's consciously obvious, but other times it's just a feeling that something's wrong. The real problem in creative block is that you don't seem to be able to get the creative juices going to fix it. The task needs more development, but you can't figure out how to do it. Creative block. An important message from creative block is that you might be too focused on the task. You can't see the wood for the trees. Creativity needs some space and an open mind. Now, creative block can be a helpful signal, not to continue with the job. This is when procrastination can be a helpful behaviour. I mean, if you just push on with a task, as you might do with one of the other types of procrastination, the whole thing might fall apart. Sometimes being motivated and determined and pushing forward can be good, but not with creative block. Creative block is not a time to fight. It's a time to pause and listen and respond in a creative way. So there we have it. 4 distinct types of procrastination: overwhelm, underwhelm, perfectionist, and creative block. Now we have an understanding of the 4 types. You need to determine which type is your issue. We tend to do the same type of procrastinating, but we can find ourselves in the grip of each type in different circumstances. And sometimes it's combinations, that's when it gets really tricky. But this next exercise will help you understand your procrastination type. It'll also help you figure out what's happening for the people around you, in your team or your family or your relationship. This next video, the exercise there, it'll help you. It'll help you know, and it'll help you find out where you stand and who or what is feeding your procrastination. I have something that's even more important on my mind. This can be from your personal life, relationships, friendships, but it's something that you feel is very important. And I'm very keen for you to look at those sorts of things. Remember, I'm not healthy might be one of the messages. You're eating too bad, you're worrying, you're depressed, you're not sleeping properly. Maybe you're sick and unwell. Motivation and confidence can be affected. Your brain is turning off. It's hard to think and be productive. I hate what I'm doing. You wish you were somewhere else or with someone else. And this is something you need to deal with one way or the other. So the message from this video is there's a message in your problem. Fighting off the problem just pushes the message down. So let's do something about it right now. The next video opens up your mind to your procrastination type. Is it overwhelm? Is it underwhelm? Is it the perfectionist? Is it creative block? And then we start looking at the messages for change.